I don't know. I always do this stupid tongue thing when I'm doing silly faces when people are taking pictures. I don't know why I do that. It's probably not even that silly. My name is Ziyad, and I am a writer and storyteller. So I am from a huge family. It's a really interesting family. I think my mother is Hare Krishna. She converted when she was about 20, which is why I have an Indian name, and my dad is Muslim. So that union right there is pretty unique and interesting. They also have each a ton of kids. My mother has 10 altogether, and my dad has 12. And together they had 3, and they're still together at the moment. And so it's pretty interesting. I got to experience a lot of unique worldviews because of that. And then of course growing up in Cleveland, which is very different from New York, in terms of just what you're exposed to, what kind of opportunities there are, was different. The people that I look up to most, I mean, there's so many people, but I would probably, if I had to bring it down to one person, I look up to my mother the most. She and we have a lot of tension. We have a very interesting relationship, but through it all, she's always been kind of revolutionary in everything that she does. You know, converting to this weird religion at a young age as a black woman, having all of these kids and teaching us so much. We were all homeschooled. Like, she just did everything her way. And sometimes that's not my way, but she taught me that I can do it my way too. And we just had a really beautiful moment yesterday. She called, and she doesn't really ever, I know that she loves me, but she doesn't really say that often, and she just was like, I want to tell you that I love you, and your writing is brilliant, and that meant so much to me, because, wow, I'm actually kind of getting emotional, but because she's my biggest role model, so that's the answer to the question. So right now I am working on a book of short stories, which I'm really excited about. The tentative title is Killing Disney. I'm really interested in the idea that we're all, we've been inundated with this like image of what love and happiness is supposed to look like. I call it like the Disneyfied version of life. And I want to push back against that in any way that I can, and specifically when it comes to queer and people of color. I don't think that necessarily our lives line up with that. So this is a book of short stories that kind of imagines a world where our happiness can look different, our love can look different, our lives can look different. And of course, I'm also working on my site, Racebaitr, which is a place where a lot of different kinds of storytellers, poets, writers can come to explore what it means to be people of color, specifically Black people of different identities, queer genders, and without having to constantly defend with the gaze of a white supremacist society. I created it because I was having a lot of conversations and a lot of about race, gender, sexuality, all those things, and a lot of them were in to audiences that didn't really have or have an interest really in those conversations, and so a lot of it was like just being defensive and trying to make sure that, you know, people were comfortable, when I feel like that was completely derailing the purpose of a lot of those conversations. And so instead I embraced this name, Racebaitr, because I'm gonna get called it anyway, to say that it's really not about what you're called or about anyone else's feelings about what you're doing when you're talking about social justice issues, and creating a space where we can do that and not have to constantly defend against those kinds of critiques. Community, this is interesting. I was just having a conversation with my sister about community and what it means. I think a lot of people say it, and sometimes when I say it, it's very exclusionary. But when I like to think of communities as happening on a lot of different levels, so I like to use the word communities rather than community. Like my community, my Black community, my queer community, all of those things are happening at the same time. And I think in order to really have a good connection, you have to be able to recognize that, and you have to be able to reckon with that. And so in my work, that's what I'm trying to do, is bridge those gaps between all of my different communities. And that's where the beauty comes from it, and that's what community means to me.